Okay, so welcome to the Cardinal Show here, and today's lesson is going to be on Social Security increases for 2024. And so what we're doing is you probably already heard about this that it's going up 3.2%. All the Social Security checks across the country, they're going up 3.2% this year, and that's going to start at the beginning of 2024. And there's several other numbers within the Social Security system that have changed. And so we really I want to bring Tom on to talk about why are we doing this video on a 3.2% increase.
I think it's very helpful to understand how Social Security works, what all these numbers mean for you, because this is your biggest decision heading into retirement. This is, if we had to pick one thing that we really spend a lot of time trying to get right for our clients, it's when they should take Social Security, because that income is going to last the rest of your life. So we want to get this right. So we want to talk about what that increase is, who it impacts, how that is, put in this context of an overall plan. And so that's really what we're going to do today is get into sort of the details here. I do want to bring up the show notes. We're going to spend just a little time in them. Mostly will be on the board here, but you can find these at the link below our video. They're also on our website, sort of under the Learning Center on our website. But we have the picture of the board, which is helpful. We go through and we have all the details. This is a fact sheet Social Security put in. We sort of highlighted the important things we put on the board here. So if you are really wanting to get into the details and look at all the numbers here, we have them in the show notes. Most of it is summarized on the board. I think it is sort of interesting to look at the year by year, how it's increased over time and changed there. So you might not care as much, but it is there if you want to look at it.
Okay. And so, I mean, to just pile on a little bit to what Tom is talking about is that Social Security is the first box on our financial planning board. Of the 7 boxes, it's the first thing we look at. A lot of times it's the first decision people make in their retirement planning. And a lot of folks make that decision without all the information. And that's one of the things we do in financial planning. And so if somebody comes into us and they've already made decisions, we're going to start asking them some questions like if they've decided to start their Social Security early, is by early, I mean at like 63 or 64 or 65, before full retirement, we're going to want to ask them a bunch of questions. And a lot of those questions are about their other money that we're going to plan for in retirement. Because if you really need the money and you need the income to live, take it. I mean, just so a lot of folks that are in that situation, we help them out. But what I've started checking boxes kind of early in the thing here is we need to know about your other money that you can use for income. If we're going to recommend that you delay your Social Security, what are you going to live off of? It might be your job because you haven't retired yet, and then you're not going to take it early. But you might be retiring at 64 or 65. And then if we're going to propose that you delay it to full retirement at 67 or 66 and 8 months or whatever that is on the phase in, most people it's about 67. And are we going to recommend that you delay it past 67 all the way to 70? So we can't make that recommendation until we learn about your other resources. And so when we have people that have a good amount of IRA 401k money that they've never taken a dime out of, and they've built up a really nice balance, and they don't want to take anything out of there because they're going to have to pay taxes on it, but yet they're going to start their Social Security early, well, then we got an opportunity here is we can create an income out of their 401k or their IRA money, if it's substantial, live off of that until whatever the recommended date is to start Social Security. So within the context of the financial planning, this is the first decision. And for a lot of people, this is the most important decision that you're going to make. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in 2024. Is your check is going to be increased if you're already getting it, or if you're not getting it and you haven't taken it yet. I mean, we have people that come into us and say, oh, I want to start my Social Security because I want to get that 3.2%. Or last year, we We had people that were saying, I want to start my Social Security so I get that 8.7%. If you've got a Social Security statement and you've got a working history and you're approaching full retirement, but you haven't started your check, you're going to get the 3.2%, whether you take it or not. That just gets built into the whole system. You're also going to get an earnings credit. So a lot of people say that to us is, boy, I want to get that increase, so I'm going to take it. Well, you don't have to take it to get the increase. It's baked into the whole system for everybody.
Yeah, I do want to make just another point on that is if you're already at your full retirement age, and like Hans was saying, we got a lot of this last year when they were looking at this 8.7% increase we had last year. And you still get that increase, like Hans was saying, but you also get the delayed retirement credits, which will further increase your Social Security check. So that's really where that Social Security statement is very helpful to look at. Look at those numbers. If you're interested in this, pull it now before they've increased the numbers with this increase, and you can see it sort of side by side and watch that grow. The other point I want to make on the Social Security statement is if you read in the fine print there, is if you are under your full retirement age, they project your Social Security statement assuming that you continue earning the same rate that you're earning currently. And so if you're thinking about retiring early, like say 59, 60, and you don't have the 35 years, because that's how they calculate Social Security. It's the highest 35 years of earnings relative to the maximum amount. Hans will talk about that in a second. That's how they calculate it. If you haven't gotten those for the 35 years, they're projecting you get that the next, say, 5, 6 years, whatever that might be. Your actual amount could be lower there in the future. So just know that that's how that works. And that could be an impact on retiring early.
And that's why people come into us. I mean, we get both the husband and the wife, if they're married couple. If they're single, we get your Social Security statement. We look at your earnings history. We look at your plan to continue working. And some people come to us with the decision to retire. So they don't have a plan for when they're going to retire. They're currently working, and they come to us with that question. And then the first place we're going to go is Social Security, and look at that, look at the statement, look at the delayed retirement credits, look at the 401k. So this is just a big piece of what we do. And we have other videos on the Social Security statement. We have a lot of other videos on Social Security. So I would suggest, if we've got your attention and you want to learn about this, go through and review some of our videos of the past on Social Security. Now we're going to talk about, it's 3.2%, so that's if you had a $2,000 a month check that's coming in, or you're already on Social Security, you're 70, 75 years old and you're watching this. And if you had a $2,000 a month check, you're getting a little more than a $60 a month raise next year. And last year, this was pretty significant. It was 8.7%. The year before that, 5.9%. So the whole Social Security system, the payout was risen quite a bit, and we had a lot of inflation. And we still have inflation, but it's been tamed down quite a bit. That's why you're getting 3.2% this year. Now, we averaged the last 10 years, the average increase, and it's about 2.75%. So this year's increase is a little back to the normal, and we've certainly had years at less than that in the whole process. So the next point I want to make is the maximum taxable Social Security earnings in 2024 is going to go to 168,600. What this simply means is that if you make less than 168,000, this doesn't mean anything to you. If you make more than 168,000, that's the most that you're going to pay the 6.2% Social Security tax on, and the most your employer is going to pay. So if a person made $300,000 in a year, there would be 132,000 that they wouldn't pay the 6.2%. That's increasing by about 8,000. Not a real relevant and newsworthy story, but you could have somebody, like, I see people come in here that have an income of like $90,000. Okay. And I look at their Social Security statement, And 20 years ago, they were making 65,000. And that 65,000 was very close to the maximum or at the maximum. So they have a lot of credits where they earned the maximum amount. And so they're waiting for a future check. But in the current years, if they're making 90,000, the 90,000 is not anywhere near this number. So they're effectively not getting as much credit for the future. We can help you analyze all of that stuff. This number is just going up and it keeps going up every year. Now, there's another number that's changing by a little bit, but every little bit helps, it's the early Social Security earnings test. So people who are still working, we don't recommend that they start their Social Security, because if you do that early, I mean, you're getting a lot of penalties here. Number one, you're getting a smaller Social Security check. And number two, you're going to have to give some of it back if you earn from a job, not your investment earnings, not your pension earnings, not just money you make from your investments, but actually income from a job from doing work. If you make more than 22,320 and you're under full retirement age, then you're going to have to give some of your Social Security back. So, and where this comes up is we get teachers that retire at 62, 63, and they have a pension, but yet they start their Social Security early. They kind of need it. But then after a year where they're off, they decide they miss teaching, or they call them up and offer them a really nice thing. And so they go back to work, and then they make their salary, and they end up having to give some of their Social Security back. So keep an eye on that Social Security earnings test and know that it's increased. And then for the year of full retirement, okay, so we're talking at full retirement, if you are like this year or next year, if you're going to retire and you're turning 66 and 8 months or whatever your full retirement age, so you retire next year, in the year you reach full retirement age, they let you make 59,250 before you get into the give back. Okay, so when people call us and they hire us to do a financial plan, these are all the things we look at and advise them to try to avoid some of these time bombs. Now, I want to bring Tom back on to make some additional comments about Social Security and the changes.
I mean, I think one thing that we need to address a little bit is this, we hear this all the time. People come in and this thought that I'm going to take it as soon as I can. I want to get the money while I can get it. Who knows if it's going to be there in the future? And a lot of that is just coming out of sort of misinformation, misunderstanding how this system works. We have a video that talks in depth about the Social Security Trust Fund. We release one every year when they release the report. So go back and watch those. But I mean, I think when you make this decision, you really need to be thoughtful and have it in the context of an overall plan. Because if you're just making it in just a silo where you're only considering Social Security, you want that money and you ignore the rest of the things, you could really set yourself up for a more difficult retirement than it otherwise needs to be by making sort of an unwise decision on this. So, you want to think through this, talk with someone who's knowledgeable about this. There's a lot of people in our profession, they don't specialize in this. I mean, they just say, "Oh, just take it. You retired. Go ahead and take it." If that's all the analysis you're getting, you probably need to look for more deep analysis on that, and we could provide that. So call us if you have some questions there. But again, this is one of the biggest decisions you make. You want to do it right. And again, this is the best source of income that you have in retirement because it does have this cost of living adjustment. Every year, based off the inflation of that previous year, you're going to get a bump up in that Social Security check. And so it differs from year to year, right? It's not always the same, but the fact that it increases over time really helps serve as that base level of income that you need in retirement.
Okay, so we've already done the boxes, but I'm going to review those. As obviously we're talking about Social Security today, and we talked about the presence of 401k, IRA money, and your ability to make withdrawals at will. For a lot of folks, what we're able to do is we're able to start a systematic withdrawals to 70 in a financial plan, and we make these withdrawals, and then we take their we delay Social Security, and that creates income taxes. Now, another point that I wanted to just bring up within the scheme of things is that Social Security, the provisional income, because Social Security is taxed, but it's not taxed directly, it's taxed based upon the other income. And this includes all your other income, investment income, IRA withdrawals. And the point I want to make, the reason it's not up here in the list is the formula for provisional income to calculate that and how much of your Social Security is taxed. That hasn't changed in years since they started taxing Social Security. So that doesn't have inflation adjustments. So as inflation or the COLA keeps increasing Social Security, it's bringing in more and more people to paying taxes on their Social Security. And there's some things we can do in planning to try to reduce that. So I want to bring Tom back on. I'm Hans Scheil.
And I'm Tom Griffith.
And we thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.